No, sir, I don't got no bodies. Don't put me in that conversation, in any type of situation. Don't troll with it. Don't rap about it. Don't even speak on it. As Boosie just got a very light sentence in the feds, and I say beating the feds, because they wanted prison time from him, but he was able to walk it down. Pushy just dropped a post on Instagram that sent shockwaves through the entire hip-hop world, and Boosie allegedly responded in a way nobody expected. Pooh Shiesty captioned his pic, "Only rapper that has more bodies than me is Lil Boosie." And what happened next? Absolutely wild. We're talking federal cases, paid hits, a 15-year-old hitman losing sleep over his actions, and confessions that locked multiple people up for life. This isn't just rap beef. This is federal-level drama. And the streets are watching closely. Stick around because what Boosie allegedly said back is jaw-dropping. Lil Boosie is a straight-up legend in the rap game. No cap, the Baton Rouge native rose through the ranks by keeping it real and repping the streets harder than most. But here's the kicker. Boosie's name is tied to one of the most disturbing murder-for-hire cases in hip-hop history. 15 bodies, a teenage assassin named Marlo Mike, and confessions that shook Louisiana to its core. And now Pooh Shiesty is trolling, claiming he has more bodies than Boosie. The internet went insane. But to understand why this disc is so dangerous and why it caught federal attention, we have to rewind to what really happened with Boosie in those 15 murders. Let's go back to the mid-200s in Baton Rouge. The streets were scorching and Boosie was climbing the rap ladder while allegedly running operations far beyond music. Federal investigators and court testimony suggest Boosie wasn't just rapping about street life, he was orchestrating it. Enter Marlo Mike, real name Michael Louding, only 15 years old. He allegedly became Boo's personal hitman. Yep, 15-year-old kid carrying out murders for a rap star. According to Cordo docs and Marlo Mike's confession, Boosie was paying him to take out people he had issues with. This wasn't a one-off. It was a systematic operation that ended with 15 people dead. The dynamic between Boosie and Marlo Mike was built on loyalty, money, and fear. Marlo Mike looked up to Boosie like a mentor, and Boosie allegedly manipulated that influence to turn a teenager into a killer. Everyone on the street suspected something, but no one talked because silence was survival. Here's where it gets even crazier. Marlo Mike wasn't a hardened criminal. He was a kid, and the weight of 15 murders started crushing him. Testimony shows he couldn't sleep. The faces of his victims haunted him. Guilt consumed him until he finally cracked. He went to police and confessed everything, every name, date, location, and crucially, he named Boosie as the one who ordered and paid for the hits. The victims weren't random. According to court records in Marlo, Mike each killing had a purpose: street beef, snitching, disrespect, or business disputes. Terry Boyd, shot in October 2009, became the centerpiece of Boosie's trial. Prosecutors said Boosie paid Marlo Mike $2,800 to handle Boyd. Marcus Thomas allegedly killed on Boo's orders for talking too much. Chris Jackson was described as a targeted hit. The list continues. Darrell Milton, Michael Smith, Kendrick Bishop, all allegedly part of Boo's operation. Each life cut short. Families destroyed over street politics and rap beef. And the chilling part, Boosie didn't just order the hits. He was meticulous. He allegedly instructed on weapons, timing, and how to avoid getting caught. This wasn't impulsive street violence. It was calculated, organized, and cold-blooded. This wasn't some random street violence. This was calculated, organized, and cold-blooded. Marlo Mike told investigators that after each hit, Boosie paid him in cash. Sometimes a few thousand, sometimes more, depending on the target. For a 15-year-old from the streets, that money felt like everything. But as the bodies stacked up, no amount of cash could buy him peace of mind. Testimony revealed Marlo Mike started having nightmares. He'd wake up in cold sweats, haunted by the faces of the people he'd killed. He couldn't eat, couldn't function. The psychological toll of being a teenage serial killer was crushing him from the inside out. By the time Marlo Mike went to police, he was ready to spill everything. He gave detailed confessions for each murder, provided evidence, and agreed to testify against Boosie in court. The streets labeled him a snitch. The Marlo Mike said he just couldn't live with what he had done anymore. The trial of Lil Boosie became one of the most watched cases in hip-hop history. In May 2012, Boosie went on trial for first-degree murder of Terry Boyd with Marlo Mike as the star witness. On the stand, Marlo Mike delivered chilling testimony about how Bowie allegedly ordered the hit on Boyd, detailing exactly how he carried it out, what weapon he used, and how much he was paid. The courtroom fell silent as this young man, now in his early 20s, recounted his life as a teenage assassin. According to Marlo Mike, Bowie told him Boyd needed to be taken care of because of ongoing beef. Marlo Mike said he followed Boyd, waited for the right moment, and shot him multiple times. Afterward, Bowie allegedly paid him $2,800 and told him, "Good job." The defense argued Marlo Mike was lying to secure a reduced sentence, painting him as unreliable. Bowie maintained his innocence, claiming no involvement in any murders. But the prosecution had more than testimony. Phone records linking Bowie and Marlo Mike during the murders, financial records showing cash payments, and witnesses who overheard incriminating conversations. The jury deliberated for hours as the hip-hop world held its breath. In the end, Bowie was found not guilty of first-degree murder in the Terry Boyd case. The streets erupted in celebration. Bowie walked free on that charge. But the story doesn't end there. While Boosie beat the murder case, Marlo Mike wasn't so lucky, convicted of multiple murders. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. At just 22, he would spend the rest of his life behind bars for crimes committed as a teenager. Families of other victims never got full justice. Although Marlo Mike confessed to 15 murders, he was only convicted for some. The investigation exposed a dark underworld of murder for hire in Baton Rouge's rap scene. Federal authorities started connecting street violence to the music industry, uncovering patterns of rappers, allegedly using young gang members to carry out hits, paying them in cash and clout. In court, multiple witnesses described a culture of fear and enforced loyalty. Cross Boosie or his crew, and you could end up dead. The prosecution painted a picture of a criminal enterprise disguised as a rap label. On the streets, reactions were mixed. Some saw Bowie as a target of the system trying to take down successful black men. Others saw him as someone who allegedly exploited teenagers and turned them into killers. Debate raged in barbershops, forums, and social media. Boosie's family stood by him. His mother, children, and supporters insisted he was innocent, targeted for his success, and claimed authorities were using his lyrics against him. By the time Bowie was released in 2014, he had served time on drug charges during the murder trial. The streets had changed the case, spotlighted Baton Rouge's violence problem, and law enforcement was cracking down harder than ever. Meanwhile, Marlo Mike sits in Angola State Penitentiary, one of the most notorious prisons in the country. In interviews, he expressed remorse, but the damage was done. 15 families lost loved ones, and a young man threw his life away before he could even vote. Fast forward to 2024. Pooh Shiesty drops an Instagram post claiming, "Only rapper that has more bodies than me is Lil Boosie." The streets immediately erupted. Was this a diss trolling? Or was Pooh Shiesty actually claiming multiple bodies? Here's the thing about Pooh Shiesty. Dude is a certified crash dummy. No cap, every case he's been locked up for involves a shooting. And trust me, his criminal history is wild. For real, I want to speak on something right quick. I ain't siding with Glow Real. I ain't siding with Broer. But I do want to say, first, let's break down the King of Diamonds incident in Miami on May 30th, 2020. Pushy allegedly shot a security guard during an altercation at the strip club. Witnesses and surveillance footage show an argument escalated, and Pooh Shiesty pulled out a weapon and opened fire. The security guard was hit and injured. This wasn't an accidental discharge. This was intentional violence in a crowded club. From this case, it's clear when things get heated. Pooh's first instinct is to reach for his gun. Then there's the Bay Harbor Islands shooting and robbery, the case that really drew federal attention. On October 9th, 2020, Pooh Shiesty and his crew allegedly set up a meeting with two men to buy marijuana and high-end sneakers instead of a legit purchase. Prosecutors say Pooh Shiesty and his associates robbed a man at gunpoint. Shots were fired. One victim was hit in the hip, and the entire thing was captured on surveillance. What makes it even crazier, Pooh Shiesty allegedly shot a victim in the buttocks, leaving him bleeding in the street, while the crew ran off with the weed and sneakers. We're talking shooting someone over weed and shoes. The victim had to be hospitalized and underwent surgery. This wasn't simple robbery. It was armed robbery with aggravated assault. The feds came hard. Pooh Shiesty was charged with conspiracy to possess firearms in furtherance of violent and drug trafficking crimes, plus discharging a firearm during a crime of violence. These are serious federal charges with mandatory minimums. The government doesn't play. By January 2022, Pooh Shiesty took a plea deal, admitting to a single firearms conspiracy charge. He was sentenced to 63 months, over 5 years in federal prison. He won't be out until 2026 at the earliest. And even then, he'll be on supervised release, meaning any violation could send him straight back. But here's what's really concerning. Pushy shows a pattern of shooting first, thinking later. The King of Diamonds shooting, the Bay Harbor robbery. These aren't isolated incidents. This is someone comfortable pulling the trigger. So, when he posts on Instagram claiming his bodies, it's not hard to believe he might actually mean it. And don't forget his music. In FDO, First Day Out, Pooh Shiesty literally raps about sending hits and paying people to handle problems. He says, "I don't even got to be there. I just send the addy in the back end." That's basically admitting to ordering hits. He's talking addresses, payments, the same type of thing Boosie allegedly did with Marlo Mike. Feds watch lyrics closely, especially when they match up with real-world criminal activity. Pushy is already serving federal time for gun charges. If he's admitting to sending hits in his music and then posting about bodies on Instagram, he's handing prosecutors more ammunition for future cases. So when Pooh Shiesty D's Boosie claiming he has more bodies, he could be telling the truth or trolling, playing a dangerous game that could land him deeper in federal trouble. Either way, the post got everyone talking, including allegedly Boosie. According to sources close to the situation, Bowie caught wind of the post and wasn't happy. Word on the street is he said something like, "Young boys don't know what they're talking about. They play with their freedom for Instagram likes." While the exact quote can't be confirmed, people close to Bowie say he isn't taking the disc lightly, but he's smart enough not to respond publicly. Boosie knows better than anyone what happens when you play these games. He spent years fighting murder charges and barely escaped a life sentence. He's not about to give the feds another reason to come after him over social media beef. This situation shines a harsh light on a bigger problem in hip-hop culture. Young rappers are competing over who has more bodies, who's more dangerous, who's more street, and the consequences are real. People are dying, going to prison for life, and destroying their futures over Instagram posts and rap lyrics. Pushy is 22 and already facing serious federal time. Marlo Mike is serving life for murders committed as a teenager. Boosie beat his murder case, but spent years fighting it and living with the stigma. These aren't video game characters. These are real people whose lives have been permanently altered by violence. The fact that Pooh Shiesty would publicly claim to have bodies while already facing federal charges shows just how disconnected some of these young rappers are from reality. The feds are watching. Every Instagram caption, every track, every post, it's all evidence. When you publicly brag about murders, you're literally handing prosecutors a case on a silver platter. And let's not forget the victims. 15 people lost their lives in the Bois case. How many more have been hurt or killed in incidents involving Pooh Shiesty? These aren't stats or lyrics. These are real human beings with families who love them. Hip-hop needs a serious conversation about this culture of violence. Keeping it real matters. Authenticity matters. But there's a line between telling your story and actively participating in violence or bragging about it for clout. Boosie has admitted in interviews that he regrets much from his past. He's talked about how the streets almost destroyed him and how he's trying to set a better example for his kids. Whether you believe him or not, at least he recognizes that this life has consequences. Pooh Shiesty, on the other hand, is still deep in it, young, reckless, and playing a dangerous game. Dissing Boosie over body counts might get social media attention, but could also bring more federal charges, more prison time, or worse. So where does this leave us? Pushy made a bold claim on Instagram, allegedly dissing Boosie by saying he has more bodies. Boosie, who allegedly had 15 people killed through his teenage hitman Marlo Mike, supposedly responded by warning young rappers about risking their freedom. This whole situation is a stark reminder that rap beef isn't entertainment. When people are actually dying, it's not a game when teenagers are being turned into killers. It's not worth it if you end up in prison for life or dead. Marlo might confess to 15 murders because the guilt was unbearable. He's now serving life, and those 15 families still don't have their loved ones back. Pushy is sitting in federal prison, facing years behind bars, yet still posting online in ways that could cost him more time. The streets are watching closely. Will Pooh Shiesty face consequences for his post? Will the feds use it as evidence in future cases? Will Bowie respond more directly? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. When you play federal games, you win federal prizes. Boosie and Pooh Shiesty know that better than anyone. That's the real story behind Pooh Shiesty dissing Boosie. It's getting federal. It's getting dangerous. And it's a reminder that this rap game is more than music. Stay safe out there. Clout isn't worth your freedom.